Hello everybody, my name is RenéeQ Show and you're welcome to the RenéeQ Show, where inspiring, powerful women come and share a bit of their life to encourage you and me as well. The RenéeQ Show is all about real stories, real life, real lessons, and real impact. Now my guest for today, Zoe Louise Opoku. Now it took a while to get you. You know, from where? From Dubai to where? Finally in Ghana, and she's on the RenéeQ Show. We'll be right back. We're back, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Kivo 100% Natural Spices for sponsoring the show, and also to Tugbeje by RenéeQ for my lovely accessories. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And it's really great to have you on the show.
It's great to be here.
Yes.
You.
And today is all about you. You know, I always say that every woman has a story. You know, we always look pretty, we always look well put together, you know, and, you know, social media is so popular now. We have so many followers and people just follow, but don't know the real story. Don't know the real story.
Yeah.
Don't know the real story. So I'm really grateful that you're here today to share a bit of your life, you know, to encourage beautiful women out there, because we need it.
Absolutely.
We need it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I am so excited to be here. And as she said, we do look put together. The last time somebody said, I was telling somebody about my my childhood stories, like my coming up, and she was like, she could never believe that I was that girl. Like, she couldn't marry the woman I am today, and then the young woman that I was. And so I feel like everybody does have a story, and it's essential that the people that follow or feel inspired by the woman that you are today know where you've come from, so they can also have the hope that they can also be, you know, what they dream to be.
Well, you're sharing that story with us today. You definitely.
I'm happy to share.
You're sharing that story with us today.
Absolutely happy to share.
Tell us all about it.
Okay, so I think that I always say that my story began when, at 24, I realized that I had spent 17 years of my life in relationships. Somebody was trying to do the math, and
I seriously, quickly.
Yeah, how do you spend 17 years of your life in a relationship? Okay, so let me define relationship. So relationships for me was like emotional attachments to some guy, right? As young as 7 years, I was in class 2. There was a guy in my class that, you know, we were friends, and I thought I liked him. He said he was going to go to Italy and come for me, and he never came back. I don't know where he is. In class 2, yes, he promised.
But wasn't that a normal mommy daddy game?
No, it was serious for me. Wow. And I feel like that's the part that made a difference for me, because it was like a pattern. Every class that I was in up until university, even after university, so class 2, class 3, I didn't go to class 4, so class 5 I didn't have a boyfriend. I always say the boys in my class were not nice. And then class 6, JHS 1, JHS 2 was the same guy, JHS 3 to SS like 1 was the same guy. And then I met God, so I was like, you know what, I'm trying to get to know God a little bit, so, you know, relax for me. I came back and the guy was dating someone else, so well, that was it for me. And then after SS, there was a different guy. University first year, different guy. Second year to final year and national service, it was the same guy. So that was like a 5-year long relationship. And in that relationship, I didn't want to be there, right? But then I realized that I didn't want to be the bad person. And I looked back and realized that it was a pattern, because there were many relationships I got into that I didn't need to, because I probably didn't want the person to feel bad, so I wouldn't turn down their proposal. And then there were other ones that I just wanted the emotional attachment, because I think that at the time I was scared of my own emotions. My emotions were very strong and powerful, and now that I think about it, I realize that they were my greatest strengths and yet my greatest weaknesses as well. And so around that time, because I didn't want to be in that relationship, I was hanging out with another guy who I thought liked me, and I think I liked better. And I was making excuses. Well, I don't want to be in this relationship anyway, so I can just be with this other person. I knew the guy was dating someone because I knew the person he was dating, but somehow I convinced myself that that was okay to do.
Right.
I was at his house one time hanging out, and all my relationships where there was no like intimacy or anything. It was basically just friendship. And every time I think about it, I'm like, I really could have kept these as just friendship. It didn't have to be an exclusive, you know, like.
So what made it the relationship?
The emotional attachment, because at that time, the moment I got emotionally attached to someone, I lost focus of everyone else, and then I was focused on this one person.
Attention, give them all your attention.
Exactly, and then I'm emotionally invested in the person.
But there was no intimacy.
No, because I married at 29, a virgin. So yeah, I'm like,
how many people say that?
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't need to go through all this. It could have just been friendships, you know, and just discovering myself until I met my husband and then got married, and you know. But yeah, I was in his room one day in the afternoon, and then his girlfriend called and said she was coming over. So he was like, "Hey, my girlfriend's coming. You need to leave." And it hit me like a brick. I was like, how did I get here? How did I get into this?
How did he see you as well? You know,
well, he told me he loved me and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even know how that whole season of my life happened. It was like, when I think about this, like a bad dream that I don't want to remember, really.
Right.
So I was like, okay. And then I got up to leave. And I was in tears, like, because I was saying to myself, this is not who I am. This is not the kind of woman I am.
Did anybody know about it? Like maybe your family? Did your parents know about it?
No.
Did you have any older, maybe siblings?
No. I'm the oldest, so... And it, you know, it wasn't
So these were secret relationships?
No, well, it's just... You know, I don't think young people these days like openly discuss their relationships with their parents. Really, like, it was just like people that I met and dated along the way and transitioned from one point to the other. You know, and with this particular situation I was in, I don't know what was going on in that season. I honestly don't have a very good memory of that season, but I remember that I was in that situation, and I actually believed that the guy loved me, and I was making excuses because I didn't want to be in my old relationship.
Right.
So I stepped out of the room. I was crying, and then I heard the Holy Ghost say to me, "You're a good woman." No, I was saying to myself, I'm a good woman. I'm a good woman. Like, how am I in this situation? Because I know that I'm a good woman. And then the Holy Ghost said to me, let me be a woman. Now, Let Me Be a Woman is a book about an elderly woman who was writing letters to her daughter who was about to get married, and telling her about what it means to be a woman and all of that. So when he said, let me be a woman, it was a book I had, bought and said, I'm going to read this later. So I was like, okay.
You actually had the book?
I had the book, but I hadn't read it.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'll go. So I went on a retreat, repented, prayed and everything. And then I took the book and started reading. Now,
let's go on a quick retreat. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Wow, this is exciting. This is a story. You could write a book.
I actually did write a book. Yeah, I have a book for young women, and it's called Letters to a Good Woman series. It's actually a series.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, the first one was out 5 years ago. Raising the next generation of good women.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Please go back. Don't let me interrupt.
Well, yeah, so when I read the book, one thing that struck me and literally changed my life was the author was asking herself, what would have happened if Eve has said to the serpent. You know the story of Eve and the serpent in the scriptures that says that the serpent said to the woman, did God really say that you should not eat of this tree, and if you eat of this tree you would be like God? And then she asked the question that, what if Eve had said to the serpent, let me not be like God, but let me be a woman, what he created me to be, right? And my God, like now that I think about it, I have goosebumps. I was like,
But at that time, had you given your life to Christ?
Yes.
Because you said you met God.
I was already saved. I got saved in SS1, like going into SS2.
Right.
And yeah, I don't want to go like into the details of the story, because some of the relationships God had clearly said no. And then I was like, there was one particular relationship. The guy was so spiritual, he knew the scriptures, and when he stood to pray, like very powerful guy. And then the Lord had told me that he was going to have me in ministry. My husband was going to be a prophet. So I was like, well, God, have you seen this guy? He meets the criteria. He's perfect.
Right.
Like, he knows the scriptures. Have you heard him pray? I went to talk to God about it, and he was like, no. I was like, Daddy, wait, you haven't heard this guy. You haven't seen this guy. Let me tell you about who this guy is. And then
you tell him God.
Yes, because I was like, you can't be saying no to this guy. I know some other people that you would say no to, and I'm like, okay, fine, I get you. But this one, why would you say no? That relationship cost me. I lost something that it took me almost 5 years to get back.
Oh wow!
In that relationship, and it lasted for just 1 year.
Oh my goodness!
It broke me. I lost my self-esteem, my self-confidence. I couldn't hear the voice of God clearly after that relationship, and it was so difficult. Yeah. It was just one. It was just one, and it rocked my life. I think that was in like 2010 or so, and before I got back on my feet, it was like 2016. It was so long. I don't think I would ever make that mistake again.
Right.
Yeah,
because sometimes we don't understand, but we just have to obey.
And for me, it kind of didn't make sense to my mind, because he looked perfect for ministry. But then God said no, and I should have trusted that he knew why he was saying that. And so it made me ask myself the question.
There are so many prophets out there. Maybe it's not
maybe not this one. Yes. So I was like, do you really trust God? Because why couldn't you just accept his word that he knew what he was talking about when he said no in this one? So then I kind of came to a conclusion that trusting God is not an automatic function. You kind of have to decide intentionally to trust him. It's not something that comes upon you just because you're saved. The moment you get born again, you assume that, because you've given your life to Christ, you definitely, if God were to come down and say do this, do that, you would do it. But it's actually not so. You have to teach yourself to trust God and to lay hold on his word. So that was like a costly one for me. But I was saved, and reading that book, coming back to the question that the woman asked in the book, that what if Eve had said, let me not be like God, but let me be a woman, it kind of revealed to me that the thing I had been struggling with so much was that I was afraid of myself. I was afraid of the woman that I had been made to be. So I was like, okay, pause. Let's go back and see who she is. So and then I got on a journey of self-awareness, self-discovery, trying to find who I was and why my emotions were the way they were, why my thoughts were the way they were.
Was this after you read the book?
Yeah, this was after the book. Yes. And so I started.
And would you say it was the book that gave you that mindset, or was it after a prayer? I'm asking this because maybe there's somebody
out there,
out there going through the same thing and is watching and is thinking, how did you find, how did you get to that point?
So I think that question triggered multiple questions inside me, because I was like, okay, what if I didn't? Because one of the questions that came back to me from that question was, okay, if I didn't want to be like God, and if I don't want to be a man, like that is, there's a quote that says that what a man can do, a woman can do and do better. I don't want to be a man, and I don't want to have to compare myself to be a man to define my worth. Then what does it mean to be a woman, right? What does it mean to be me in the fullness of what God made me to be? Because if I'm not wanting,
a woman?
So that was where like I started asking the questions, and it kind of came clearly to me that women and men are very different, and as a matter of design, the creator did not make it sides that we have to be the same.
Right.
And there's a purpose for being a woman, there's a purpose for being a man. And so when that clarity came to me that, okay, everything has its place, because if you would look around, there's not a single thing that is created that doesn't have a purpose. Right. Every single thing, including like a safety pin.
And a booby pin.
Yes, and a booby pin. Yeah, absolutely. So I was like, if everything has a purpose, then I must have a purpose. So what did God have in mind for me when He was making me, when He was designing me? What was He thinking about? And what problem was He thinking, well, let me make her to come and solve? You know,
that's deep.
Because when you think about it, the reason why the woman was brought out of the man was because He thought that it was not good for the man to be alone. Everything else had a partner except for the man. And He was like, well, it's not good for him to be alone. And then there's a principle actually in the Bible, the principle of the amen, which is the principle of a double witness. So the Bible says that if two people can agree upon a thing on the earth, it would be established. So if you have a man and he's alone, he doesn't have a double witness who can agree with him concerning a thing to have it established. So I feel like, first of all, that's the purpose of, you know, why we have two people, because we could have had just the man be man and woman and everything in that. Yeah, but then he was like, no, I need this one, I need that one. So I was like, okay, then there must be a reason why I'm here, which means that I have worth, I have value. Like there is an intrinsic value that that I bring.
Nobody else can do.
So that awareness sort of, you know, it just took me on the journey. It's like I started defining my boundaries a bit more stronger, because now I realize I need to protect this gift that I have so that I can present it to the world in a way that God wants me to.
I love that you said present it to the world. Yes, but I love, you know, that you said it was an intentional decision.
Yeah,
it was.
It was. And I think that from there, I realized that not many things happen by accident. You know, not many things. In fact, it is against the laws of nature for anything good or anything ordered to happen by accident. So sometimes I really wonder how scientists actually agree to the theory of evolution, you know, that we happen by some big bang and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of inconsistency there, because there had to be an engineer behind such organized,
you don't think there was?
I think I actually, so that's why I wonder like how scientists can conveniently remove the factor of a creator from the story of the universe. You know, I find
you know, when it comes to scientists, you can't really trust them.
Yeah, I find it very. So I think that from there, it made me the understanding that somebody made me and somebody had an intention, an idea for making me, made me very intentional about everything that I did from there. So I started posting my thoughts and the things I was learning. So if anybody that's close to me knows that one of my biggest things is reading. I read a lot. So from there, I started reading book after book after book.
So how do you choose the books to read?
I think that I sort of pay attention to myself and see where I'm lacking, and then I pick books that I feel might address the subject.
Right.
So I'm
reading to learn.
Because
some people read a lot,
and then it's not. No, I think that I because I intentionally I do a lot of self-assessment and self-diagnosis. So I sort of pay attention.
So does it make you worry sometimes though? Because I know because I know a lot of people, which is really good. It's really good. I always say to ladies, you know, it's important to do a lot of self-reflection, self-analysis and all that. But sometimes that can make you worry. Sometimes that can make you feel insecure when So how are you able to balance that?
Okay, so because I believe in growth. Growth is one of my biggest values, and I believe that, you know, maybe a tree cannot move around, but it grows. But I can move around, and I still have the ability to grow. And so nothing's too far fetched. Like there's nothing too far away that I cannot become.
Right.
I just need to set my mind to it that okay, this is where I'm falling short. This is something that I don't know. This is an area that I don't do well at, but can I practice? Can I learn?
Right.
Can I do something? Can I get some knowledge? Usually when I feel stuck, I'm like, I'm lacking something. I need to go
but
find.
But it's also very good to admit that to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you can grow. Because
sometimes
a lot of people don't want to admit.
People shy away from
there's nothing wrong with it.
I think about 2 months ago, I was having a conversation with my girls at home, and I was like, you know, I feel like there's some kind of tension, you know, that exists. Let's talk about it. What's going on? And then they started talking to
amongst
me,
you.
Yeah, in my house.
Right.
So they started talking to me, and they were like, "Well, we feel like this, we feel like that." And then at the end of the conversation, I realized that, wow, there are days I actually wake up and I'm not having a very good day, and as well-meaning as I may be, I might take it out on others.
Somebody else.
But the blind spot was that I never think of myself as an unpleasant person. So I'm getting feedback that says, well, you were unpleasant this day, you were unpleasant that, and I can't believe it. You know, but then, so in that moment, I realized that, well, you're human and you can be having a human experience where you're not exactly, you know, at the best, you know, of yourself. And so you could be sending off wrong signals, unintended wrong signals.
Sometimes you're sending out signals that you don't think is wrong.
Good.
How people read
interpret it.
Right,
yes.
Right.
So I was like, okay, then I'm sorry. So then it made me more, you know, careful, more intentional. Like when I wake up in the morning, I want to assess myself, see where I am. If I'm having a bad day, I'd probably come out. Maybe I wouldn't say anything. But then when I kind of find my mojo, I go back to make sure that everybody is like, okay.
So because it's too much.
No,
it's too much.
It's just because I realized that if I was having a good day, I would be very cheerful and bubbly and come around and expect you to accept me. So if I'm not having a good day and I'm being like off and I find my mojo, I want to reestablish that, okay, I'm fine now. So whatever the normal routine is, we can go back to that, right? Instead of being like cold and dismissive and all of that, like, and then it coming back later to me, and I'm like, well, I don't remember doing that. Yeah. So I feel like admitting your shortcomings and your weaknesses is the best way to grow.
Yes.
So when I find those things in myself, I either ask questions, I watch an interview, watch a podcast, something. I find a book, read, and most of the times when it's like doors open for you the moment you find the right knowledge that can move you from point A to B. It's like the door just opens, and then you go through,
you can do greater things.
Yeah,
it's also a sign of humility as well. You know, it is like a trait of humility, I should say. Yeah. Because sometimes when you think you know it all, and sometimes the people who think they know it all. Oh my God! That's another
How could
show.
You possibly know it all? How could you possibly know it all? Then you wouldn't be here, you know. Because this, I believe that this life we live is a learning experience, and so if you're here, then there's something to learn.
There's something to learn.
Yeah.
And there's another step
to go
ahead to take. Yes.
So that's it for me. So I learned through getting knowledge, and I give myself grace. I practice till I get it. You know, it's not every time. Somebody once told me, I was having a conversation with a friend, and I told her that, oh, you know, and this and that, and I said, because I love my life, I really love my. And then I was surprised by the words that were coming out of my mouth. I really do love my life right now, but it's just 3, 4, 5 years ago.
You couldn't have said that.
You know, confidently.
Right.
I couldn't have said that.
But then sometimes you can love your life, but sometimes you can feel bad saying it. You know that happens to some people. That you love your life, but then you just think that, oh, if I say
it looks like you're being no.
It looks like, you know, we really have to like we ignore all of that and be proud and when I say proud, I'm not talking about the pride that I just talked about. Yeah. But be happy to declare it that I love my life.
So, you know, I define a good woman as a woman that actively pursues God and through a knowledge of Him discovers and develops herself,
right,
and then holds space or gives room for others around her to do same.
right, right.
Now, my definition of holding space or giving room for others to do same is when I come to a point where I love my life, I share it with you so that you know that it's a possibility, not
right,
because I want to elevate myself above
right,
you, because we're
Can you
all
give
living.
give us an example?
Like, you know, when I was talking to my friend and then I was like, because I love my life, and then she was like, oh, and I love that for you, and I was like, you know, sometime back I don't think I could have said that, but then it's been a while, you know, coming. It's taken some time, and so maybe you should take time, give yourself some time,
right,
and just grow through it. Because she was telling me about things she was struggling with and how sometimes she intends this good and then it doesn't come out the way she intended.
Mistakes that you make,
yes,
and allow
like,
yourself.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's how life is. So just relax. The most important thing is that you're learning and that you're putting it to practice. When you make the mistakes, you get up from them, and then you keep moving.
That's exactly what we're saying in the beginning, and that's why I'm so happy for you to be on, and all the other beautiful ladies who've come and shared. And that's what we're saying in the beginning, that sometimes some, you know, people admire you from afar, but they don't know the
journey you've been on.
You've been through a journey. You've been through a journey.
Yeah.
And look, I know you do a lot of things. You're the founder of Let Me Be a Woman Foundation. You're the curator of Heart and Purpose. You're a leadership and personal development coach. I mean, like a whole list. And I love that you sing. I've heard you sing before, and it wasn't even singing; it was ministering. And you're going to minister to no, you definitely are. I'm not letting you go. No, you will. You will.
Gladly.
So, would you say that all of this has led you to everything you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so how I got into Let Me Be a Woman, I started posting my thoughts, my learnings, and my ideas, you know, that I was picking from the books I was reading on Instagram. And then I started getting questions from younger women, you know, how did you do this? How did you do that? And this was like 2 years into my journey. So I started answering questions, and then, you know, eventually we created a WhatsApp group. I was like, I can't do this one-on-one all the time. So I put everybody in the group, and then that was where it started. I think in 2019, we had a group. Wait, was it 2019? Yeah, about 2018, 2019, had a group. So we have conversations about different things, and then we started bringing women who've gone ahead to also share their experience, so we learn from them. Because one of the things I believe in is not having to literally live out every experience that you learn from, but you can also learn from the experience of others.
Right.
So leveraging other people's experiences is a great way to learn. So that's one thing we promote in our community. And then so this year, 2024, I kind of feel like we're in 2025. Well, this year I decided to I shared my story on TikTok, and I had over, like,
which of the stories?
My story about my relationship and my growth and all that.
Okay.
I shared that on TikTok, and I had like about 70,000 views.
Wow.
And I had hundreds of questions in my DM about, you know, how to do this, how to do that, how to do this. So I started a coaching company, institute, to help young women find themselves and answer some of these very important questions. And then, so when I came out of all of that, all those relationships, and took a break and everything, I think I was out of school then, and then I didn't have a job. I didn't have money at the time, and because of that, I felt like I was entertaining certain compromising relationships, and so I realized that once I cut them off, I would have to find a way to fend for myself. So I started a business. I started a business. I broke up with the 5-year-long relationship because I was like, first of all, is destroying me. It's making me into someone that I'm not, and I'm making excuses because I feel like I'm justified because I didn't want to be in that relationship. So let's end it so we know there's nothing there. And then, so once I ended that, I started a business in interior design. And funny story. So I did a job for someone, and then they happened to be my husband's friend. So my husband visited them and saw the place and was like, oh, this is really nice. Who did this for you? It's like, oh, there's this lady in church who did this for me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I want this, I want this, I want that. So like, okay, I'll connect you to her so she can help you out. So
this is me grinning.
Because that's how I met my husband. He contacted me for some jobs and I did it for him.
You went and did the job.
So I did the work for him.
Yeah. No, you have to say it properly. And I went and did the job. Because the job...
Well, you know what's interesting? I did this work for this man and he refused to pay me. And after many years, his excuse was, well, if I give you the money, you will not talk to me again.
What man are you talking about? Your husband?
Yes, my husband.
And he happens to be my son.
Yeah, beautifully coincidentally.
What have I? Oh, he's such a great guy.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of him. I have to say, not for the part. No, not that he didn't pay you, but he's doing so well. Yes, and I'm so proud of both of you.
Thank you.
Yes. So tell us about it. Yes.
Well, so
you're still talking to him even though he hadn't paid you.
Yeah. So that was me, contacting him and saying, oh, the payment, and then so something that was supposed to end in I think it was in August or so. It went all the way to November, and then we started having friendly conversations, and then it evolved into okay, this and this and that. And then one time we had a call actually. So we had a call, and then he was telling me about how who he really was. He was telling me about himself and everything. And then I kind of had a hint in my heart because something I didn't tell you before. When I was in SS3, about to leave school, I went into a fast and I told God that, I'm coming out into the world. I feel like there'll be so many people, so many distractions. Right. So tell me about my husband. Who is he? What does he look like? Give me a name, something. So God gave me initials. And told me that the person was called Emmanuel Opoku. And I was like, Emmanuel Opoku, it's not what kind of name is that? It's not give me a better name, something. So I completely changed the names. I wrote something completely different, something that sounded foreign, And then, so I met him. And then, so it was in this call that he was mentioning his name to me. And I was like, no way.
Like he said,
Emmanuel. Funny enough, nobody knows he's called Emmanuel. Do you know my husband as Emmanuel?
Yes, Emmanuel Kofi Opoku.
No. He doesn't use...
No, but I know. He's told me he's called Emmanuel before.
Right.
Yeah.
Most people who know him have no idea. Everybody calls him Futures Kwame.
Right.
Right. Or I think it was official Kwame back then. Kwame, his Instagram handle and everything. So I was like, interesting. Okay. So I started praying about it. And I was like, God, I don't want to get into something that if you're not in it, blah, 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 because I learned my lessons. So he came over to my city and then we met the first time after I had done the work for him. And then when he stood in front of me, I remember the first time we met. So the first time we met, when I did the work for him, he stood in front of me and then I remembered the vision that the Lord showed me. He was the very person standing in front of me. So he was talking to me and I was in my thoughts. And he's like, okay, this is who I am.
So you got the initials and you also got the
face. Yes.
Right, the face.
So the kind of person he was and everything. So when he stood in front of me, I was like, this is the person God was talking about. And at that time, I told God that I wasn't interested in a relationship because I wanted to take my time and heal and all of that. And I was giving God, So after we spoke, I turned around to leave and I heard God laughing at me. I was like, why are you even laughing? I said I didn't want to be in a relationship. Then I was like, well, if I keep talking to him, I'm probably going to fall in love with him. So I will not. So after I did the work for him, we kept talking. And then after a while, I kind of felt like, let me just cut this off because I don't want to start something that I'm not ready for. And then I sort of avoided him for 2 months. And then he came back. And then now we started having friendly conversations. So he came to my city. And at that time, I think it was just done. I was into him. He was into me. And then, the rest is history.
Well, that's really, really nice. That's really... And knowing him, you know, the two of you are just perfect. I mean, God is God.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? All the books here, reading all this and all that.
Well, yeah.
He is as well. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine the
those
two
are
of you
things we bonded over.
Yes,
you know,
of course.
Definitely, because we would share things. You know, we read and. You know, I read something and man, it's so crazy. You should see it.
And,
yeah, you know, and then when you think about this, we do that all the time.
Yes. Oh gosh. Wow. That's just amazing. I should say. Please edit that part right, because I just heard some and I was just taking my mind. Just wow. Okay. Now I have to say, you know, well done.
Thank you
for everything, and I know you're even going further and all that. Looking at your life, what would you say has challenged you the most, and how have you overcome it?
I think that the biggest challenge I would say would be, how do you turn what looks like your greatest weakness into your greatest strength? One of the things I struggled with was understanding myself and my emotions, because I was feeling things I didn't understand. And, you know, because your actions are fueled by your feelings, you're feeling things and then now you're doing things that don't align with what you think you want.
To do,
so it's like you have an idea of what you want, but then your whole life is turning out differently from what you want. And so gaining self-awareness and, you know, becoming aware of my emotions and how they work and how now I could use them, because now, you know, I'm the one that does, you know, self-reflection coaching and exercises for people. And I'm like, well, if you're doing this and doing that, maybe because there's some underlying feelings here. So let's explore that. So you had to go
through it. Now, have you learned that?
Yeah.
Have you learned that? Because now that's one thing that I've learned, that there's so many things that I've been through that I'm helping people go through.
Yes, exactly.
That I feel like if I hadn't gone through it myself, I wouldn't have understood them.
And I feel like that was the biggest thing for me, and figuring it out with the help of the Holy Spirit definitely has helped me to now elevate my life. Because the reason why I seem to have control, because people tell me, oh, you're so bold, you're so this, I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, because when I figured out what my emotional state and all the difficulty was, I realized that, okay, because I feel this way, I need to set these boundaries.
So Zoe, you know, you mentioned at a point that you lost your confidence, you lost your self-esteem for a couple of years. That's one thing that a lot of women struggle with. Yeah. And for you to even admit it, even, because it's like everybody, you know, so when I have a self-confidence program, I can get only 2 people coming. Yeah. It's almost because, like, you know, nobody wants to come to be seen as the one who's not, you know. So I'm sure somebody's watching and thinking, how did you get it back? So that's the question I'm asking. You know, how would you say you regained your self-confidence, your self-esteem?
Right. Okay. So I think that after I started, you know, it looked like a byproduct of the process, right? So after I started, when I discovered that, okay, then if somebody made me, then they must have had a reason for making me. And then if I was here for a reason, then it means that there's something in me that, you know, solves the problem that I'm here for. It gave me the sense of internal worth, you know, like self-worth. So self-value. Yeah, self-value. Right. So now I know that I'm not walking around as an empty vessel. Now then the other thing I was confronted with was that it's true that you have worth, right? It's true that there is something inside of you. Now the question is, how do you develop it to the point where it actually serves the purpose for which it was made, so that it's not just raw material, but it's finished product. So then I started on the journey of growth. Now the journey of growth, what it does for you is that I think that after some time, it begins to produce in you competence. Now you begin to have like skill and ability to actually do things. Now I feel like where it you know evolves into full-blown confidence is where now you realize that your worth and your competence are beginning to match. Yeah, so it's like when you step out onto the scene, you feel like this is why I'm here, and I feel like I'm capable to do it. Fantastic. Good. So I tell people that the first step to developing confidence is, first of all, identifying that you have value. You have value. It's just because nobody gives out like safety pins for free. You buy them.
Stop saying safety pins. Say booby pins.
Booby pins. Okay. Let's go with booby pins. Okay. Like those are like the more sophisticated versions of safety pins. Those
are the necessary must-haves. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right, for women.
Yeah.
Right.
So even for those, they seem very insignificant sometimes, but then they have the reason why they're made. So you have value. You have value just because you're here. There's something in you. But now the question is, how do you develop and transform that thing so that it serves the purpose for which you were made? That's the part you have to play, because the designer, the creator, has made the raw material. He's giving you, the foundation. Now you have to build on it. So when you take the time, when you invest the time in yourself, developing the skills and the know-how to do the things that you're called to do, and you begin to show up into spaces, you see, self-confidence is one of those things that you don't say to yourself, oh, now I'm confident. You feel it. It comes out of you because now you know yourself, and then you have the competence to match.
Step out, and then you just feel some fulfillment.
It just comes out of it. So I feel like if you know yourself, if you first of all settle with yourself that you have intrinsic value because somebody made you, he designed you, thought about you intentionally and made you, then you do the work. I think that the thing that eats at our self-confidence is the fact that we know that we can be more, but we're unable to show up because we don't have the capability, we don't have the competence to show up in the fullness of who we're made to be.
Some people are just afraid.
I feel like there's something there.
There's a lot of fear. Especially when it comes with comparison,
right?
So somebody might be watching you and thinking, I can't do what she's doing,
but you can do something else.
You can do probably even better.
Yeah.
And or you could, as long as you understand it. So I love your description, because as long as you understand it, and you can do it, you're not afraid. You can step out into it.
Exactly. And I think that one of the things that's killing our generation today is the comparison that you spoke about, because we see what everybody else is doing, and then we think that, well, we should be what everybody else is. Like I said, back in the Garden of Eden, let me not be like God, but let me be a woman, just what he made me to be. In that is the sense of embracing identity, I embracing who you are, who you were designed to be. So that you see Zoe, she speaks a lot, she's talking so much, and then you're like, well, I want to be like that. But then have you asked yourself, what exactly was I designed to do? Right? When you figure that out, it sort of helps you to develop the competence within that area. Because if you learn to speak and you weren't designed to do that, you would have the skill, but you wouldn't have fulfillment because it doesn't align with the things that you were designed for. So I feel like it's, well, first of all, comparing yourself to somebody else is outright silly, because there are no two people that are the same. Like, why are you even doing that to yourself? When you see something you like about somebody, you can admire it. You can say, okay, well, I could do that too, and then work on yourself based on what good. You can be inspired by other people, but to compare yourself and sort of feel down.
I want to be like you. And sometimes when I read that, it's sometimes when I read it and I even look at the person they want to be like, I'm like, hey. Now, would you say that you've gotten to where you are, you've gotten to this understanding, you've gotten to this, mindset and all that because you know the Lord, because you have a relationship with the Lord?
There is no other foundation. There is no other foundation to my growth, and the only reason why I'm here is because I have a coach who is the Lord, who literally leads me day by day, and he's the one person that, because he knows you, he made you. And so he kind of has the blueprint. He has all the information. I feel like having the Holy Spirit is like a cheat code. my God, I don't have the words. I feel like he has made me into everything.
Leaning my nose.
He's made me into everything that I am today. He's taught me everything that I know. He's helped me through every phase that I've been through, because one of the easiest things that can happen to you is that when you go through certain costly mistakes, to feel that you're worth nothing. But when you have him there reminding you, like that time in my life when he told me, let me be a woman,
right.
you know, leading me into the place where I would rediscover my value. I feel like those saves have been my lifeline.
Right.
And so I don't know how anybody is doing life without the Lord, really. I don't know how they're doing it. Yeah.
Right. You know what I want you to share with the ladies watching, and the gentlemen as well? I would like you to share with them how they can hear from the Lord.
Ooh.
Because yes. That's
a good one.
You know, because a lot of people think it will be like a big bang and a whoom and and all that. But you've said many times about just asking him, saying this, you even saying back to him, no, and all that. And speak to us.
Right.
Tell somebody out there.
One of my favorite things I like to do is to sort of help people to hear the voice of God. And the first thing that I would say is, using my process, of course. When I met God, I didn't know him. And in wanting to know him, I went to the place where I know that he had left his word, which is the Bible. You see, most people are looking for visions and dreams and experiences. But I say that there is no surer word than the written word of God. That was where I learned to know the character of God, to know the voice of God. Read the scriptures. Read it so much that you can hear his voice in it. And when you open the scriptures to read, don't read it as though you're looking for revelation. No, you're looking to see the person who wrote this book. One of the things that I share is that I've read Michelle Obama's books, and sometimes I feel like I know her just because I've read the books. Sometimes when you're reading something that somebody has written, it's like you hear their voice, you hear them speak to you. So it's the same voice that I read the Bible in that I hear. And the next thing after you have read the Bible so many times is that when that voice begins to speak to you outside the Bible, believe it. Don't stress about it. God is more interested in speaking to you than you are in hearing him. He wants to speak to you. He wants that, because think about it. When Adam sinned in the garden, it was God that came and said, Adam, where are you? So God has always been the one coming after you. It's not even you who's interested. Left to you, the relationship between you and God will never survive. But the thing is, he's always there. He goes out of his way. He goes out of his way to make sure that the relationship we have with him works. So don't doubt it. Like, if you're hearing something, you could be wrong. I would say that every time I pray that, Father, if I am going the wrong way, go out of your way to set me back on the right path. So I don't doubt. Like, when I hear this, I go for it. If I'm wrong, he will reroute me with time. I trust in his sovereignty, and I trust in the fact that he made me, and because he's my manufacturer, he wants me to succeed more than I, the product, will ever want to succeed. And so I trust him. I know he will make me succeed. Can I tell you a secret? Yeah. Now, one of my thoughts, and one thing I always say, like you said, he made me, and I feel like he made me, he's in control. Yeah. He won't want his product to fail. I mean, that's how I take it. And that's me as well. That's me as well. And it gives me a confidence. It gives me a confident assurance that if I'm hearing something wrong, he will find a way to communicate the right thing to me. So when I hear the voice, I don't doubt it. I don't second guess it. If I heard it, God said. And that's it. I love this. We're back, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Kibo 100% Natural Spices for sponsoring the show. You know what they do, and I'm so you've seen it already. So yes. So this is what
Kivo does. They give a beautiful, beautiful gift
so
to
beautiful.
all of my guests. And I don't know if you've tried. I can't even begin to tell you. Now, my favorite is the ginger, garlic, and onion.
Oh, wow.
Now, what I love about Kivo is that their products are 100% natural. That's the only reason that I
use the pepper, the hot pepper.
Oh, you do?
It's very good.
It was really, really good. It's really good. No preservatives, no MSG. Wow. So I love it so much. Their creamer is really healthy. Yes, really helps lower your cholesterol and all of that. So this is a lovely, lovely, lovely gift from Kivo to you. Aww. And what I want you to do is to send me a WhatsApp later with what you prepared. And
right. Okay, cool.
I'm not going to let you go, please. You need to minister a song to us.
Oh,
maybe freestyle.
Okay,
it's your gift. It's your gift. I already have goosebumps. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Jesus, bright as the morning star. Jesus, how can I tell you how beautiful you are to me? Oh, Jesus, song that the angels sing. Jesus, dearer to my heart than anything, sweeter than springtime, purer than sunshine, ever my song will be. Jesus, you're really beautiful to me.
I just want to hug you right there. I just want to hug you right there. That was so beautiful. Yes, indeed. Jesus is so beautiful to us. You are so beautiful.
Thank you.
And you watching are beautiful as well. We'll see you next week.